There's the famous quote by Pindar that I use: become who you are by learning who you are. You have to learn who you actually are. You have to go back to that seed and figure out what it is about that makes you unique. The key here, are you internally guided or externally guided? If you're externally guided, what your main goal is to get attention. Stop being so externally motivated and find what's inside of you and what drives you and what you want, and stop paying so much attention to what other people are telling you. That validation is the single greatest human need. People have this deep desire to be validated for who they are, for the work that they do, for their values, etc. There's the famous quote by Pindar that I use: become who you are by learning who you are. You have to learn who you actually are. You have to go back to that seed and figure out what it is about that makes you unique. And the reason why I'm calling it discovering as opposed to inventing is that you may be not aware of it, but when you were 3, 4, 5 years old, you had an inclination towards things that was very primal, that was very much who you are as an individual, right? You were attracted to sports, to certain kind of physical activity. You were attracted to certain patterns that maybe turn into math or music. You were attracted to words like I was that will turn you into perhaps somebody who wants to write. We could go on and on and on. There's the 5 Frames of Mind, a book that I recommend for everybody. So you knew it when you were 3 or 4 years old. The problem is, now there are some people like a Tiger Woods or an Einstein or a Steve Jobs who knew that when they were 4 or 5 and they remember it for the rest of their lives. Most people aren't like that because we have no way of recollecting what we were like at that age. We've forgotten it all. And what happens is, as you get older and you enter the world, your teachers start telling you who you are. Your parents start telling you who you are. Your friends and your peers start saying, this is cool, this isn't what's cool, this is who you are. And you lose connection to that primal person that you are, that unique individual. And you go astray, you become like other people. And power in this world comes from being irreplaceable. If you are the one person in this planet who can do this particular thing, who can invent this particular bit of software or this particular business or this kind of book, then you have a niche that nobody else can take away from you. But if you become like other people, if you listen, you go, oh, my parents want me to go to law school. All right, I'll go to law school. You go to law school, and then you exit like the 8 million other minnows who've gone to the same school. How are you going to get ahead? How are you going to get power? Because you're just like everybody else, and you're replaceable. So the process of life, the path, is going back in time and discovering who you are and discovering and uncovering your life's task. The key here in what we're talking about is, are you internally guided or externally guided? So if you're externally guided, what your main goal is to get attention, is to get people to look at you. It's also to listen to what other people are doing. This is what's popular on TikTok. I better get on and do the same thing, right? Fine, you can get some power, you can get some success in life, but you're going to not go very far because a million other people can do the same thing. It's also, sounds like a bit old-fashioned, I'm sorry to say, but you're calling your uniqueness is your soul, okay? And that's going back to a concept in ancient Greece where people were given what's called a daemon, which I talk about in my new book, like somebody that's guiding you, and it's connected to who you are as a unique individual, and it is your soul, okay? So when you start paying attention to what other people are doing, when you start looking at TikTok and going, God, I want to follow that person. That looks cool. I want to be a singer. I want to do it because of that. It's an external motivation. You're listening to what other people are doing. And the problem is you're killing your soul. You're becoming replaceable. And then, worst of all, you're dependent on other people. If they don't start giving you attention, you get depressed. You start freaking out. Well, I've got to try even harder to get attention. And you turn into an internet clown. And there are millions of internet clowns on TikTok and Instagram and X or whatever. So you don't want to lose your soul, okay? It's very important. You don't want to become a soulless individual. You want to hold on to what makes you unique. So if you're internally motivated, okay, I'm a writer. I've always loved writing. Yes, I want attention. I want people to read my book. I want to become famous. I want to make a lot of money. But it's not the main thing that's driving me. It's in the background. The main thing is driving me is I love writing. Now, there might be a combination where the desire for fame and celebrity is in tandem with the love of what you're doing. But because the love is so much a part of it, right? You're not connected. You're not so deeply tied to what other people think about you. Okay? So it's what makes you happy. Stop being so externally motivated and find what's inside of you and what drives you and what you want, and stop paying so much attention to what other people are telling you. You can have a sense of what you want when you were young, a sense it's music. If it's sports, you can't really wait till you're 38, so that doesn't really apply. But in other fields, business, sciences, you try different sciences, you try different forms of business, nothing quite clicks. But you keep trying, you keep trying, you keep trying. You know your direction, you know the general drift of where you're headed. And you try different things. And then by the time you turn 32, 33, you've developed a lot of skill, a lot of discipline, a lot of patience. Something magnificent is going to happen with you. So there are different paths you can take to getting that kind of power and success, which I wish for everybody in your audience. There's not one path, but it has to be connected in some way to that life's task, or it'll never happen. At the time I was given the possibility to write the 48 Laws of Power, I had accumulated so many failures, so many disappointments. I had had so many awful manipulative bosses, so many bad experiences, that I was like the only individual on planet Earth who could write that book, because I had been through so much of it. If I had been given that opportunity when I was 26, it would have never happened. I had to have all of those twists and turns, all of those terrible bosses who manipulated me, all those failures and disappointments that toughened me up, gave me a thick skin, that gave me discipline, that gave me some patience, that made me realize that it's not going to be easy in life. You're going to have to scramble and scratch your way and claw your way to get anything that you want. And so without all those disappointments and failures, I wouldn't have ever made it. And I think in everybody's path, even Leonardo da Vinci, even anybody else you look at, you will find not the same, but a similar struggle. It's never like a graph, a line, going continually up. It's always like that, maybe heading up, but there's a lot of downturns in everybody's career path. And it's what separates the successful from the failures. That when you have a failure, you learn from it, you get back on your feet, and you keep trying. If you don't sacrifice anything, that's what it means to be a human being, right? You can't have everything in this world. You can't have everything that you want. That's a myth. Oh, I can have children, a great career, lots of experiences, lots of fun, I can party. No, you have to make choices. You have to sacrifice certain things. And that's the nature of the beast, And so if you love something so much, then it's worth maybe your health a little bit, or it's worth some of these other sacrifices. It's worth giving up some of these things. That's how it's been for me, at least. There's no other comparable feeling that a human being can have. It's a tremendous sense of achievement. And so the sacrifices, the costs, pale in comparison to that feeling of fulfillment that you have when you've actually completed something against a lot of obstacles. Nothing in my life can compare to that feeling. When you're a man trying to seduce a woman, or a woman trying to seduce a man, they're a different creature. We're different animals. We have different psychology. We have a different way of thinking. We have different values. We have different emotional systems, right? If you're not exposing yourself to that other human that's so different from you, and learning about them and getting comfortable with how a woman thinks, what a woman desires, then you're never going to develop the proper skill. So you have to be out there. You have to be socializing. You have to be meeting people. You have to be understanding their psychology. The key to seduction is not being inner direct. It's not being all about myself and do they like me? Am I looking good? It's them. What are they thinking about? What are their needs? What is their weakness? What is it that they're missing in life? You have to be in their skin, in their world, in their spirit, observing it. That's become very difficult in this world when you're not socializing, when you're degrading that power, that skill.
Common mistake is to think that somebody who's very powerful, for instance, like your boss, doesn't have an ego because or doesn't have insecurities. Of course, we know they have an ego, that they don't have insecurities. And that insecurities are very much tied into their ego. So the more ego that you have, the more insecurities that you have. And so law number one is never outshine the master. So if you try so hard to please people in the company or in the group, the person above you is going to think that you're trying to outdo them, that you're better than they are. You're triggering their insecurities. That's part of their ego, and you're going to be in trouble. And so you have to realize that everybody around you has these insecurities, has these egos. And instead of inadvertently tripping on them, inadvertently triggering them, which is what a lot of people do in life, you have to be aware that the person you're dealing with has these insecurities, wants to be appreciated, wants to be validation. The great American psychologist William James said that validation is the single greatest human need. People have this deep desire to be validated for who they are, for the work that they do, for their values, etc. That's a very important part of their ego. So being aware of that, and being aware that you could be inadvertently offending them in some way, will really improve that. Just being aware of their particular insecurities. And law number one is law number one because I violated it prior to writing the book several times. And I've accumulated stories from almost everybody that I've dealt with in my life, podcasters, etc. People who've come to me for advice. And every single person I've talked to has had stories like that, where they inadvertently made their boss or somebody around them feel insecure and then paid a price for it. So just be aware that everybody has this, everybody has their insecurities, and the more you can pay attention to that, the less turmoil and drama that you will inadvertently create in your life. The other thing is to become much more aware of the people around you. So what's happening in the world today is everybody is turning inward. Everybody is becoming not an introvert, but they're becoming much, much less observant of people because they're so locked in their virtual worlds. They're not paying attention to the kind of nonverbal cues that people are giving. And so the main thing is for power in the social realm is you want to turn that around and put less attention on yourself and more attention on the people that you're dealing with, and be excited about that. So in order to understand the social game, which is the source of power, you have to kind of want it. You have to kind of love being around people and love observing them. But today people have become very inward. They're not observing enough, and those kind of skills are degrading. And when you don't have social skills, when you don't know how to say and be the right kind of person in social situations, you're never going to have power. So it's a matter of becoming a consummate observer of people that I think is the main thing that will turn you around. Now that's easier said than done, but you have to kind of take baby steps in this. You can't transform yourself overnight into a great social observer. You have to put yourself out there more in the world. You have to get outside of your virtual worlds. You have to actually go to bars. You have to go to clubs. You have to mingle with people. You have to become more social. But when it comes to finding your life's task, which is the first chapter of mastery, and quite frankly, to me, it's the most important thing in life. Even in Power, of all the books that I've written, it's the most important thing for anyone to find in life. Because when you find out what you were meant to create, what your task is, what you say your talent lies in, there has to be, of course, an element of love in it. The whole world just opens up, right? You will gain power. You will be good in the seduction game. Men or women will come to you because you're moving in the direction that your brain wants you to move in. You're learning quickly. You're becoming creative, and you fulfill, your dreams from when you were younger. I think the worst feeling for people that I found, the most tragic thing, is to get into your 50s and tell yourself, God, I could have been something else. I went down a wrong path. I could have found what I wanted to find, and I didn't do it because I listened to other people, because I was more interested in money than I was interested in mastery. And it's a regret, and it's too late at that point. So it's a function of emotional, and we talked about this in seduction, it's almost the key for everything, is your emotional engagement. So you're not going to learn, you're not going to put in those 10,000 hours or whatever it is that's required if you don't actually love or have some degree of an interest in it that's very deep and profound. So if you're told to become a lawyer because that's what your parents told you to do, but it doesn't connect to you emotionally, you could spend 100,000 hours as a lawyer, but you're never going to reach a point of mastery because it doesn't connect to you. The brain learns fastest when you're in love with what you're learning, So you've got to figure out what that is. And it's a process. It's not easy. It's not like I could give you a formula to tell you how to do that tomorrow. You have to go through a process of introspection. You have to look at things that really, really, truly excite you.